Oh, I beg your pardon. We have to take testimony, whether it's going to suspense or not, and we have to hear from Finance. Good morning.
Good morning. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Miriam Ingenito with the Department of Finance. The Department of Public Health estimates that it would require about $120,000 from the general fund through fiscal year 2012-13 to develop the regulations. And I just wanted to note for the committee that we had, the Department of Finance had been working with the Assemblyman and trying to determine how come these costs were so high from the Department of Public Health. We confirmed with the Office of Administrative Law that the bill would in fact require the Department of Public Health to do a regulation change. We explored the option for having Public Health go through a more expedited rulemaking process, but OAL did inform us that we had to develop a form for the locals to use to report the rabies vaccination, and it required them to go through the lengthier process. This particular unit at the Department of Public Health is currently staffed with only one position and would not be able to redirect that staff, so it would need additional staff to do it. And they have informed us that there is currently a backlog in that unit, and so with that, we have to agree with Public Health's estimate of 120 at this point.
Thank you. Is there testimony in favor of AB 258 by Mr. Hagman? Any testimony in favor? Seeing none. Any opposition testimony to AB 258? Any opposition testimony? Seeing none. All righty, that item will go to suspense. Thank you, Mr. Hagman. We're taking our bills in file item order. First up is Senator Hernandez, Mr. Amiano, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Bell, Mr. Portantino, Mr. Cedillo. And I see Mr. Amiano. Two items. You're waiving suspense on one, Mr. Amiano?
Yes, the crime labs.
That's correct. That's correct. So AB 9 you'll take up first on pupil rights?
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to present AB 9, Seth's Law regarding school bullying and prevention. AB 9 is named after Seth Walsh, who tragically took his own life after years of relentless harassment and bullying he experienced at his school in Tehachapi, California. Seth's mother and close friends report that teachers and school administrators were aware that Seth was being harassed and in some instances participated in the harassment. Yet Seth's mother's pleas to the school for help were brushed aside. Research shows that students who are harassed at school frequently suffer long-term social, emotional, and psychological harm. In California, we have a safe schools laws that protect and prohibit discrimination and harassment at school, but lack of policies, complaint, and investigation procedures make existing laws less effective. The most effective way to reduce the harm and financial impact is to create a school-wide culture of inclusion and respect for differences. Changing the current hostile climate on school campuses will increase student attendance and performance and save lives. AB 9 would require schools to establish policies to prevent intimidation. These policies will be posted and available for students and parents and personnel. AB 9 draws upon tested approaches and best practices to prevent discrimination and harassment. I thank you for your consideration, and I urge your aye vote on this very important bill as it goes to suspense. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amiano. I appreciate that, and it is a candidate for suspense. But first, we will call the roll. I believe we have a quorum. The secretary is ready. We'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Here.
Kehoe here. Walters? Alquist?
Here.
Alquist here. Emerson?
Here.
Emerson here. Liu?
Here.
Liu here. Pavley? Price?
Here.
Price here. Runner?
Here.
Runner here. Steinberg?
We have a quorum. Senator Walters just stepped out for a moment. She'll be back. But we have a quorum with or without Senator Walters. Mr. Amiano, do you want to go to your witnesses now?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All righty. First up.
Hi, Matt Bunch here on behalf of Equality California.
All righty, and we will take a couple of people on each item, pro and con, on the fiscal matters.
Great.
Good morning.
Good morning. Bullying remains a serious concern on school campuses across the state and can translate into great expense for schools and our state budget. According to the California Healthy Kids Survey, 27% of students who reported harassment based on actual or perceived sexual orientation said they missed school at least one day in the past 30 because they felt unsafe. Each year, 109,000 school absences at the middle or high school levels in California are due to bullying based on actual perceived sexual orientation, and many additional absences may be attributed to bullying on other factors. The cumulative loss to school districts in California is an estimated $39.9 million or more each year due to a loss in ADA. And for these reasons, we feel that this bill is very important and would actually save schools money. And we are happy to be a sponsor of this bill.
John Lovell with the California Police Chiefs Association. We're in strong support of this bill. It's about 50 years overdue. Left unattended, bullying can escalate into criminal activity, which later has its own set of cost increments. This is an important bill, and we're strongly in support.
Thank you. Other testimony in favor? In favor? And we need some chairs, folks. Oh, go ahead.
Tiffany Mock with the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU got involved in this issue as part of our school to prisons pipeline. The idea is that in creating a safe place to learn, we will reduce the amount of conflict, create a safe environment so that all our students can be productive members of society.
Very good. And now we'll just take your name and your support for the bill and your organization.
Charlotte Newhart with California Foundation for Independent Living Center's strong support.
Thank you.
Sabrina Means on behalf of the California Faculty Association, which represents the faculty at the California State University systems, in support.
Thank you.
Rebecca Gonzalez, National Association of Social Workers, California chapter, in support.
Thank you.
Lance Chi, a student that had to sue his school district to get remedies for the harassment that I received as a gay student. I ask your aye vote.
Very good.
Madam Chair and members, Khadija Alam Javed with the Advancement Project in support.
Thank you.
Kenneth Pierce, Equality Action Now. We urge your support in this, please.
Amanda Levy, California Psychological Association, in strong support.
Lisa Ford Berry with Brave and a fellow grieving mother due to a peer-driven bullycide, firmly in support.
Hello,
Thank you
Fatima.
for your testimony, ma'am.
Fatima Segura, on behalf of California school counselors, in support. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Helene Meshar on behalf of the City Council and the City of West Hollywood, in support.
Thank you. Thank you. That is the support testimony. Is there any opposition testimony? Opposition testimony on AB 9? Seeing none. Finance, do you have a comment on the bill?
I do, Madam Chair. The bill would expand the existing comprehensive school safety plans 1 and 2, which are state reimbursable mandates, resulting in additional Proposition 98 general fund costs, estimated to be in the low hundreds of thousands of dollars each year. And this would be on top of the existing mandate of approximately $3.3 million, which was in 2009-10. Further, the bill encourages school districts to provide the professional development training to implement the policies, which would create additional Proposition 98 general fund pressures. The Department of Finance is opposed to this measure because it could result in additional Proposition 98 general fund costs at a time when the state resources are severely limited.
Thank you, Finance. And that concludes the testimony. Mr. Amiano, as you said, is a suspense candidate, so it will go there without objection. You have one other item. You've waived presentation, but yes. I want to ask if there is. This will go to Mr. Amiano's AB 239, Crime Laboratories Oversight. Is there testimony in favor of AB 239? Anything in favor? Seeing none, is there opposition to AB 239? Opposition, ma'am? Okay, come on up. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. I'm Lieutenant Barbara Ferguson with San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, and we have a regional crime lab, and we're opposed to this because this measure, AB 239, places duplicative and costly burdens on crime labs. Our crime lab in San Bernardino County is currently regulated by accreditation standards provided by the California Department of Public Health Forensic Alcohol Analysis Regulatory Program and the FBI's Quality Assurance Standards for Forensic DNA. AB 239 is expensive to the state and time-consuming to crime labs and public safety personnel in a time when resource and quality staff are at a premium. And for this reason, we're opposed to AB 239.
Thank you. Any other testimony on AB 239? Finance, you have a comment?
The Department of Justice indicates that the requirements to reconvene a task force would drive additional resources, While the DOJ is unable to determine how much additional resources will be needed, they indicate that they would be costs incurred for staff time, expenses from outside legal experts, and travel. And we note that in the 2011-12 Budget Act, there was a $10 million transfer from the general fund to the DNA ID fund to offset lower than expected revenues in that fund.
Yes.
Any additional cost to this fund would exacerbate the fund's problem and drive additional general fund costs. The Department of Finance is opposed to this measure because of those additional general fund costs not included in the Budget Act.
Madam Chair, may I respond on the two bills just quickly?
Mr. Amiano, you did waive presentation, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about the issues while it's on suspense.
All right, thank you.
But I understand. That's the danger with waiving presentation.
Okay.
So we'll work with you while that item is on suspense. That's AB 239. Without objection, it goes to suspense. Thank you, Mr. Amiano.
All right, thank you.
In file order, next is Mr. Cedillo. You have 3 items, starting with AB 130. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, my colleagues. Everybody get up here.
No. You're starting with AB 130, Mr. Cedillo, whenever you're ready.
Thank you.
And just, I see a lot of witnesses, so we'll take the first 3 on the fiscal matters, and then everyone else will be a name and affiliation and your position on the bill. So we're starting with AB 130, California Dream Act 2011.
Yes, Madam Chair, that sounds great. I think we'll probably be very modest on 131, and I'm not quite sure we even have comment on our other matter before you. And so,
very good.
So I want to be as efficient, as effective for the committee as I can. Just let me say, though, a few things about 130, if I may.
Yes.
We have already established that these students have a legal right and the state has a legal obligation to educate them. And we have a very rich legal history beginning in the state with Mendes versus the Board of Education, which was the precursor to Brown versus Board of Education. It was Mendes versus Westminster, and then Brown versus Board of Education. Fortunately, our Governor, Earl Warren, was here when the Westminster case was heard and then moved to the U.S. Supreme Court to hear Brown versus Board, and that established that separate schools aren't acceptable. Later in Plyler, in the mid-'80s in Texas, Plyler established that, in fact, more specifically to this case of undocumented students, that they, in fact, have a right and we, in fact, have an obligation to educate them because, as we all know, we abhor creating a subclass of residents of our states who would be bound to crime and illiteracy and who would become a burden on our social service programs. And that was the language and the rulings in Plyler. And then finally, you know, we've had the 2 cases, both Proposition 187, which relied on Plyler and was enjoined, and then most recently, what we're here for today is AB 540. And that case went to the U.S. Supreme Court and the appeal of that was rejected. And so I want to establish for the committee first that they have a legal right and we have an obligation to educate them. On the fiscal matter, and this was a question that was brought to us simply by the University of California. The University of California, as do the CSUs, as do the community colleges, have private foundations. And those private foundations receive resources, money, from individuals and companies, in some instances, large amounts. This year, there were several large endowments given to the University of California at Berkeley, I believe $100 million. Down at UCLA, $200 million by the Krikorian family and their estate. Those resources are available for scholarships for students at the university. Unfortunately, though, the university did not have confidence that they could provide those scholarships for AB 540 students. This bill addresses that. This bill does not cost the state 1 cent. So again, these are AB 540 students who meet all the qualifications, have been brought here through no choice of their own. They have performed all the requirements we've put in front of them and become the best and brightest. They've been admitted to our highest universities, and they've done well. And we come before you with AB 130, no cost, and I repeat that, not 1 cent of taxpayer dollar will be involved in this effort to provide them the ability to receive a scholarship.
Thank you. I was going to say Senator Cedillo.
That's fine.
That's still your
No,
title?
I would not object.
Should we go to your witnesses?
Yes, please.
All right. Who's first?
Okay. Madam Chair and members, Nadia Leal Carrillo with the University of California in
And just a little bit louder.
Sorry
you can
about
pull
that.
it in, you can pull it closer
Sure.
to you.
I used to tell her that all the time when she was on staff.
Nadia Leal Carrillo with the University of California in support of AB 130 for the same reasons as stated by the author. By making AB 540 students eligible for scholarships, AB 130 addresses issues of affordability and access for these students. We ask for your vote in favor of the bill and thank Assemblyman Cedillo for authoring this important piece of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Regent Ralph Corpus. I'm from Pierce College. I'd like to share you a quick testimony of my support of AB 130. I was born in the Philippines, where my family raised me to be diligent, hardworking, to dream and have high standards. At the age of 6, my family and I came to the United States where we filed for U.S. residency, but due to a lawyer's mishap, we lost those papers for residency and I became undocumented. Even at a young age, I understood what it meant to be undocumented, to exist despite the government denying my existence. Regardless of that immense pain that I feel today, my mother still continued to encourage me to excel in everything I endeavor in. And I applied her words as I entered into, school, like from all the way from, kindergarten all the way to high school. From high school, my grades were so high that I was able to excel from 10th grade all the way to my senior year. I got accepted to UC Berkeley and graduated with a 4.33 GPA. Unfortunately, because I'm undocumented, I do not have financial aid. And seeing that pain, I feel like no matter how hard I work, that it's for nothing. No matter my educational goals. That's why, even though I felt so disheartened, that even when the government taught us to dream and to have high goals for ourselves, I still took a detour. I still remained. I went to Pierce College. This dilemma that I felt from UC Berkeley, promoted me to become an avid activist. I never wanted to speak about my status until, that just understanding how hard it was to not go there. So I became active for my high school, reaching out to not only the administration, but also to other people who share my predicament and who were about to face that same problem. I went to Pierce College. I created the first AB 540 group in there, and we called it We Bill. And it stands for We Bring Unity to Immigrants and Life to Their Dreams, which was basically the theme of what we're fighting for today. Being of an Asian Pacific Islander descent, I realized that immigration is not just affected by Latinos or other races. It's a multicultural issue. A lot of races are affected by it. I got recently involved to the California Dream Network as the first Filipino steering member. The California Dream Network was founded in 2003, and we're fighting for immigrant rights as today. We have this Light the Torch campaign that's been going for 3 months, where we light this torch from every region, from San Diego to the capital, that garners all the dreams and hopes of all the undocumented students that you see not only before you today, but also the people that are watching this in behalf of California Dream Act. I'd like to conclude by telling you about my dream. My dream, I hope someday I do manage to become a citizen and that I do manage to finish my education and become an immigrant lawyer. Why an immigrant lawyer, you may ask? Because they're the people who got me here in the first place. And I don't want any other immigrant families to face the same situation that I face. That's why I ask you, and I'm advocating for the dual bill, AB 130, and also AB 131 for California Dream Act 2011, because it's time that students should not be deferred from their dreams and the resources that they need to pursue it. Higher education is essential to keeping students from the streets and incentivizes them to pursue careers where they can actually contribute positively in society. So that's why I respectfully ask that 130 be taken out of the Appropriations Committee so that it may go to the Senate floor, as well as AB 131, since they will both financially impact us as we enter in our dreams. Please, thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good morning, Lori Najera from the California Student Aid Commission. And we have supported all of the versions of the California DREAM Act as well as the Federal DREAM Act, and we thank the author for being so dedicated and determined to get this bill through. This is in reference to, of course, private scholarships at our universities, and AB 131 is the bill that affects Cal Grant, the program that we administer. But for the fiscal, I do want to state that we have identified certain procedures and forms that would be necessary for state aid, and we will be implementing those if AB 131 does get out of suspense and is signed. For Cal Grant, and with stakeholder input, and we will, of course, share our best practices with the universities so that should any of these scholarships be need-based, that they could utilize those same forms and procedures at the minimal cost. So I just want to say thank you again. Please support AB 130.
Thank you. I'd like now to take names and organizations, and we'll need, everybody will, leave the chairs. Next, please.
Matt Bunch here on behalf of Equality California in support.
Tiffany Mock on behalf of ACLU in support.
Thank you.
Joseph Villela on behalf of the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, also in support.
Olga Nidia Ramirez on behalf of the California State Student Association, which represents the 412,000 students in the Cal State system, in support.
Julio Gonzalez for Benny Diaz, Director of California LULAC, representing over 80 councils in the state of California. We respectfully request that you do an investment for California's future. We ask for your support.
Thank you.
Alice Eliezer on behalf of the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, strongly in support.
Thank you.
Rebecca Gonzalez, National Association of Social Workers, California chapter, in support.
My name is Bernardo de la Torre in support. I'm from Latino Comp, an organization of workers' compensation professionals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Carroll with the California Applicant Attorneys Association, also in support.
Thank you.
Gustavo Medina, El Concilio in Stockton, in support.
Michael McGee, California Community College Chancellor's Office, in support.
Erica Romero on behalf of the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, in support.
Dan O'Shea, Vice President, Student Senate for California Community Colleges. On behalf of the 2.7 million students we represent, we are in strong support. Thank you.
All right.
David Zeff with the California Post-Secondary Education, in support.
Lisa Douglas, representing the nonprofit colleges and universities in California, in strong support.
Ronald Coleman on behalf of the California Immigrant Policy Center, also in support.
Khadija Alam Javed with the Advancement Project, in strong support.
Christine Shilp with the Community College League, we're in support.
Jesse Ceniceros, President of Voters Injured at Work, in strong support.
Jim Lindberg on behalf of the Friends Committee on Legislation of California, in support.
All right.
California Faculty Association, in support.
Mark McDonald, McCallum Group on behalf of the Peralta, Rio Hondo, San Diego, San Jose Evergreen, and Los Angeles Community College Districts, in support.
Andrea York on behalf of FAC and the EOPS Association, in support.
Monica Gomez from San Joaquin Delta College Puente Club, in strong support.
Marta Graciela Limon, San Joaquin Delta College Puente Club, in support.
Ana Navarrete from San Joaquin Delta College Puente Club and California Dream Network, in full support.
My name is Ervis Orozco. I'm a UC Davis student. I'm in support of this bill.
My name is Eric, and I support the Dreamer because it will give me an opportunity to go to college.
Thank you.
My name is Maria Luna. I am a DREAM Act activist and also a student, and I am full support. Thank you.
Pedro Ramirez from the Educational Leadership Foundation, and I strongly support the California Dream Act because Governor Brown made a promise, and I intend to make him committed to it.
Sheila Ramos, representing 20,000 students at De Anza College, Vice President of the student body, and we are in full support of the California Dream Act. Thank you.
Ileana Perez on behalf of Educators for Fair Consideration, fully in support.
Daniela Rodriguez from Lincoln High School, in strong support.
Ileana Plasencia from San Joaquin Delta College, in strong support.
Angelica Esquivel from IMAS and AB 540 support group at De Anza College, and we're in full support.
Abel De Leon, representing HY Hispanic Youth Institute, and also for IMAS. Strong support, and a graduate of UC Santa Cruz. It's very important for this to go through. I have a lot of family, a lot of students that are working with this situation right now. So thank you for your time.
Alexis Buds, a future aspiring chemical engineer, full and strong support.
Sergio Salas, I'm a recent graduate from California Lutheran University, and I'm fully in support because I'm a dreamer, I'm undocumented, unafraid, and I really want to continue my studies to go to grad school. Thank you.
Catherine Lamb from San Joaquin Delta College, and strong support.
Thank you. That is testimony in favor. Is there any additional testimony in favor? Anything more to support the bill? Seeing none, opposition to the bill. Is there opposition to AB 130? Opposition? Seeing none.
I move the bill.
Thank you, Senator Alquist. We have a motion from Senator Alquist. We'll hear from Finance, and then members, if there's questions or comments, I'll go to the committee. Finance?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, the bill would not explicitly create any new state costs. However, the bill could create cost pressures to provide annual scholarships given the expanded pool of eligible applicants. And the cost pressures would likely grow in the future as tuition and fees raise in these segments and the student population continues to grow.
Thank you. Members, this may, as you see in the analysis, may meet the criteria for referral to the suspense file. I would rather look at the significant costs in the next bill, Senator Cedillo's 131, which highlights the fiscal issues regarding this issue. And although an argument can be made for cost pressures on almost any bill, I think this is about private funding, and we are. The motion by Senator Alquist is completely in order. So, are there any other comments or questions on this measure? Seeing none, then I'm going to open the roll. It's an important bill, and the Secretary will call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Walters? No. Walters, no. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Emerson? Liu?
Aye.
Liu, aye. Pavley? Price?
Aye.
Price, aye. Runner? No. Runner, no. Steinberg?
Aye.
Steinberg, aye.
5-2. I'm going to close the roll because Senator Pavley's on a delayed flight. She won't be here till this afternoon. So the measure is 5-2. The measure is out. Thank you. We're going to maintain order in the committee room. In fact, we have another bill to take up by Senator Cedillo, AB 131, on a student financial aid, and this does meet the criteria for suspense. Senator Cedillo, you want to begin on that one?
Let me say, for the same applies with respect to the legal history, that this bill is in accordance with both the letter and spirit of the law. I would note that the economy of our state, that by 2025 there's going to be a shortage in this state of 1 million people with bachelor's degrees, bachelor's in science, bachelor's in arts. This helps us address that shortage. There are costs here, but there are not additional costs. These grants are set aside each year. That's part of the formula for which we set aside Cal grants. This was part of an agreement we made with Governor Davis. And so, yes, there is a cost, but there is no additional cost. This simply provides an opportunity for students who are eligible, who have a legal right, and who we need so much to do so well for the future health of this state's economy. We need them to be able to do that and to participate. And so with that, I acknowledge that this will go to suspense. I recognize that, but I hope that at that point that the evaluation will be such that it can come off the suspense file. I would like to also say one last thing, if I may, Madam Chair. There are some young people who are here with former Senator Richard Alacorn. They're called the Young Senators. It's a program, much like a program I run. I just wanted to acknowledge them. And then finally, with respect to 130, I would hope that that could go properly to the desk so that it could be available to be deliberated on by the end of the week.
1:30?
Correct.
Yes, we will move it. We'll be bringing it down there at noon.
Okay.
Thank you, Senator Cedillo. The students with Senator Alarcon, why don't they stand up for a second? Let me see. Or are you already standing? There you are. Welcome.
Welcome to you.
You see the Senator Cedillo and the Committee in Action. We're glad that you're here. Good morning. We have witnesses at the table. Senator Cedillo, with your agreement, can we stipulate that all the second speakers from the previous bill would want to speak on this one?
So stipulate.
Okay, thank you. So we'll take 3 speakers on this bill. If there another one wants to come up here, and you may begin again. Miss, yeah.
Madam Chair and members, Nadia Leal Carrillo with the University of California in support of AB 131. In addition to the information listed in the committee analysis, the university believes AB 131 will help place AB 540 students in a more equal footing with other needy students by making AB 540 students eligible for both institutional aid and the Cal Grant Entitlement Program. For these reasons and others, we ask for your vote in support of the bill, and thank again Assemblyman Cedillo for authoring this important piece of legislation.
Lori Najera from the California Student Aid Commission, and we too are in support of this bill and thank the author. This would increase Cal Grant entitlements, both for the high school entitlement and transfer entitlement. The analysis shows that in so much as there were competitive monies available after all other awards have been made, there would be no additional fiscal on those awards because we have a limited number of awards that we can offer annually. The Commission, as I said in my previous testimony, we have identified forms and procedures because the AB 540 students are not able to fill out the FAFSAs, and we would have to have another way of determining financial need for these students. And the Commission has identified those processes. You have our fiscal on that. We would do everything we can to keep that down, of course. We strongly believe that these folks need the opportunity to receive financial aid to get themselves through college. They are, as has been said before, the best and the brightest, and we as a state should not be keeping them back, so we ask for your eye support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Madam Chair and members, Khadija Alam Javed with the Advancement Project. And I just want to add that benefits from this bill far outweighs the cost, and this is such an important bill, and we ask for your support.
Thank you. We will, with agreement of Senator Cedillo, we understand there's more support for in the room for the bill, but in the interest of moving toward our noon recess to go on the Senate floor, we will now go to opposition testimony. Is there opposition testimony to AB 131 by Mr. Cedillo? Any opposition testimony? Seeing none. Finance, do you have a comment on this one?
The bill could create costs resulting from awarding Cal Grants to students who are exempt and would become exempt from paying non-resident tuition under the AB 540 process. Based on the most recent information provided by the California Student Aid Commission, the general fund costs of providing Cal Grant awards to these students would range from $19.2 million to $38.1 million annually, beginning in 2012-13. Additionally, the bill could result in cost pressures to the state general fund to provide additional institutional aid funds to both UC and the CSU to the extent that it would limit the amount of financial aid that could be provided to other financially needy students. UC estimates that the costs would result in additional 488 undocumented students being eligible to receive approximately $4.6 million in institutional aid awards in 2012-13, and CSU estimates 2,000 undocumented students would be eligible to receive approximately $8.4 million in institutional aid in 12-13, and the California Community College California Community Colleges indicates that it would result in enrollment fee revenue losses to the CCC of about $4.7 million.
Thank you. Members, this bill does meet the criteria for suspense, and we'll be working with the author while it is in suspense Senator Steinberg, did you have a comment?
Yes,
And any other members? I'll take your comments right after this.
If I may, Madam Chair, I recognize this is an appropriate suspense item, and we'll consider it. I just wanted to make a comment about the issue of cost. Yes, there's cost, but you can't put a cost on a young person not having the ability to fulfill their potential because of the kind of restrictions that exist in the law here today. And this bill comes at a particularly important time. Among all of the budget cuts we have made over the last several years, the cuts that I think have hit the hardest are the cuts to higher education across the board. And I just want to say from this dais, as the leader of the Senate, that in my view, as the economy improves, and it will improve, as we gain new revenue, that we will reinvest in higher education. In fact, it'll be our first priority to reinvest in higher education. And this bill is consistent with that commitment, that every young person who wants to go to college can go to college and contribute. And I thank all the young people for coming out here today and fulfilling your dreams and helping to ensure the dreams of others as well. You'll prevail. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Cedillo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Steinberg. Senator Liu, and then we'll call the roll.
Thank you.
Well, excuse me. It's my mistake. It's going to suspense.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for bringing this bill. I come at it from a different point of view, not so much as cost, because we don't have to give Cal Grants. But if government is going to give these Cal Grants and other forms of financial aid, then we should not discriminate. And, you know, we had royalty visit us this weekend. And the reason we don't have royalty in America is because we do not impute to children what their parents did or did not do. So we're not going to raise you up nor put you down based on who your parents may have been or what they did or did not do, and we're going to judge you on your own merits alone. And if we're going to give financial aid to folks, then we should give it to everybody. And that's my view on this, and we'd love to vote for it when it comes off suspense.
Thank you, members. Any further comments? And Senator Cedillo, we will work on this while it's in suspense. And you have one more item still. It is AB 211 on workers' comp. Do you want to open on that? And then we'll go to Senator Hernandez, who I think I saw in the front row. Good.
AB 211 is a bill. We've got some witnesses.
And Mr. Cedillo, I should let you know this is a suspense candidate. I know it says May there, but we see some costs here. So if you want to talk about that, it would be good to hear it. Whenever you're ready.
It's pretty straightforward. This bill exempts employees who make an offer of reemployment or continued employment from providing vouchers. This bill would require the Administrative Director of the Division of Workers' Comp within the Department of Industrial Relations to adopt regulations implementing the program. In essence, once the determination is made, we do something that's very smart in this bill, is that we give injured workers a voucher at the front end of the process so that they're not sitting home, so they're not wasting time, so they're not being unproductive, so their spirit remains high. We give them a voucher of $6,000 so that they can prepare to re-enter the workforce. Workers injured at work who want to become a productive part of our economy are given an opportunity through a modest $6,000 grant to re-enter the workforce. I think that the bill merits the support of this committee and ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. I would just point out to the witnesses on either side that the analysis notes unknown increase or decrease in benefit payments. If you could address that, that would help us work on the bill while it's on suspense. So let's begin. We'll have pro and con, then finance. Go right ahead.
Committee Chair, I want to thank you for and the committee members for allowing me to testify today. My name is Jesse Ceniceros. I'm an injured worker. I am currently the president of Voters Injured at Work, a nonprofit organization that represents approximately 10,000 injured workers across the state. We are not professional lobbyists, nor are we as familiar with the workers' compensation laws as many of the people who would testify today in support or opposition to this bill. Assembly Bill 211 that Senator Cedillo has so graciously agreed to author for us is something that we all agree is an important issue, return to work. Assembly Bill 211 is a direct result of the governor's veto of Assembly Bill 1636, in which the governor encouraged the proponents of the measure to work with the employers, insurers, and the Department of Workers' Compensation to find a more appropriate solution to the problem in the current law. On May the 21st of 2008, we had our first of many advisory meetings with the Department of Workers' Compensation, the representatives of business, labor, applicant attorneys, insurers, and voters injured at work on trying to remedy the many problems of return to work issues. The language of Assembly Bill 211 is a direct result of the many stakeholder meetings that all stakeholders participated in for the better part of the 2008 legislative year.
Sir, if you could just bring us your conclusion and the two following witnesses. We have 12 minutes to do two bills.
I got two sentences.
Go right ahead.
Okay. We believe that this bill will take an important step to helping injured workers return to what they want, which is to help their families and themselves. They shouldn't have to wait years to help themselves. We ask for your yes vote.
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, Mitch Seaman, California Labor Federation, here in support of this bill. Gets injured workers back to work faster with a stronger skill set and one that's been expanded to better match the available ways to reconnect with the workforce. We urge your support.
Thank you. Next, please.
This is Bernardo de la Torre with Latino Comp, and strongly supporting this bill. Currently, it takes 3 to 5 years in a lot of cases, especially the seriously injured worker, and this would allow the training program to be started as soon as it is feasible and not at the end of the case. And as soon as people are retrained, it would actually be a benefit to the California economy if they're back at work. And this is what this bill allows.
Very good. Next, please, and then it's just name and affiliation, please.
Mike Carroll with the California Applicant Attorneys. What he said, and we'd be happy to work with the committee, Madam Chair, to figure out the fiscal costs during the interim.
Thank you very much. Any other testimony in favor? In favor? Then we will go to opposition testimony. And, sir, you might want to give us your chair, please.
Oh.
Okay. If there's questions, I'll call you back. Okay, this is opposition on the fiscal matters, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, Jason Schmelzer for the California Coalition on Workers' Compensation and CSAC Excess Insurance Authority. The analysis notes that there could be some cost based on the amount of the benefit that is received by injured workers going up. I think it's unlikely to go down. I would also note that there's likely to be some administrative cost associated with the bill. If you look at workers' compensation, it is heavily veered towards administrative costs. We have $5.7 billion in administrative cost in the system out of a $16 billion system. One of the problems with this bill is that it creates a lot of ambiguity about how the new benefit is to be administered. We've offered some amendments to the author and the sponsor. We've worked with them closely. We'd like to have these amendments kind of looked at during the suspense process. We think that they would clean up the administration of the benefit and could make it more palatable. So with that, we're done.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senators, Julianne Burrows here on behalf of the California Association of Joint Powers Authorities. We agree with the points brought up by Mr. Smeltzer and have been asking for these amendments since the bill had been introduced. On the administration side, the cost would come up because there has to be a good faith dialogue between the injured worker and their employer about returning them to work and the applicability of these vouchers. That all takes time, it takes effort, and we think that there is a lot of cost to this. We think we can sort it out through amendments, but at this point, we don't see them being added to the bill. Would ask for your help in getting that accomplished.
Madam Chair, Phil Vermeulen representing Acclamation Insurance Management Services. We too have concerns with the costs involved with this. We believe that the amendments will resolve those concerns and would hope that during suspense that those amendments will be looked at closely. Thank you.
The committee doesn't have any amendments, so if you're addressing amendments, let's get us some language, please. Alrighty, and just name and affiliation now. Thanks.
Thomas Vu with the California Chamber of Commerce, also in opposition unless amended.
Thank you.
Amber Wiley with the Alpha Fund, also opposed unless amended for the reasons previously stated.
Thank you. Any further testimony for or against? For or against? Seeing none, Finance, do you have a comment on this?
The Department of Industrial Relations would incur minor and absorbable costs. The Department of Industrial Relations indicates that because the bill broadens the approved uses of job displacement vouchers, employer costs could increase. However, as noted in your staff analysis as well, the increased costs associated with the use of vouchers could be somewhat offset by the fact that injured workers could be retrained and may return to work in a shorter period of time.
All righty. Members, any comments or questions? This does meet the criteria for suspense. In my opinion, any objection, then we'll move the bill to suspense and we'll work with Senator Cedillo while it's there. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank your committee staff for the great job that they're doing. I don't want to waste any more time, or take up any more time, rather. Let me say that.
Yes, you're not wasting our time. And 1:30 you'll be on the Senate floor about 2 minutes after 12.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. And now, Dr. Hernandez, I think yes. Members, we're going to the top of the file. This is SB 335, and this is an urgency matter. And should be a due pass this morning, members, if you're so inclined.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'm pleased to present SB 335. This bill is sponsored by the California Hospital Association and would implement a quality assurance fee for hospitals for the 2011-2012 budget year. This bill is important for a couple of reasons. First, the bill will draw down $320 million for children coverage to offset the general fund expenditures. Second, this bill will provide additional funding to hospitals when we simply do not have the general fund dollars to fund significant rate increases. I do realize there's...
I move the bill.
Thank you. I realize there is more work to do in the bill in filling out the details on how much hospitals pay, which hospitals receive resulting revenues, and the effect of the bill and Medi-Cal outpatient rate reduction we have just passed. Those discussions are going on to continue while the bill moves, but this will be a third time the legislators enacted a hospital provider fee, and I anticipate another successful venture. I successfully ask for your aye vote, Madam Chair and members.
Thank you, Senator Hernandez. And we will go to your witnesses in favor, then opposition, then finance.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Martin Gallegos with the California Hospital Association, sponsors of this measure. As Senator Hernandez very eloquently stated, this is the third in a series of these hospital fee bills following on the footsteps of two highly successful previous programs that were able to capture about $3.5 billion total in new federal money for hospitals in additional Medi-Cal reimbursement in order to continue access to those patients to very important health care. As the author stated, the bill is a work in progress. There are a number of complex issues as to why we don't have all of the details figured out in this bill yet. But to cite just some of them, it's the increasing Medi-Cal population, the cuts in the Medi-Cal, the fact that this bill, unlike the previous bills, goes back to the original matching rate of 50-50 state and federal. So there's a lot less money in the pool. The previous ones, as you know, were 62% and 57% respectively. So we still need to work out some internal issues with our membership. We expect to have those completed hopefully by this Friday when the CHA board meets. And then we would be able, if the bill passes out today, make those amendments on the floor. And then we would be able to complete the last piece, or the last pieces of this puzzle.
Dr. Hernandez, maybe you or one of your witnesses can give us an update on the discussion around the formula.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may, with me on my side here is Matt Absher, also with the California Hospital Association, and he's here to answer any of those technical questions. With all due respect to
yes, if you don't mind, I can have the witnesses answer that for you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Matt Absher with the California Hospital Association. The key calculation that we're working on is related to the upper payment limit calculation, essentially the amount of maximum federal funding that can come into the state of California as a result of passing provider fee legislation. We later today we have drafted a preliminary calculation of that limit, and we are meeting later today with the department to go through some of the iterations of that. The calculations are a little more difficult than they were in the prior program, primarily because of the transition of patients, seniors and persons with disabilities into managed care. So it's taking us a little bit longer to work on that, although we do have a preliminary draft right now.
All righty. Thank you. Next, please.
Yes, Madam Chair and members, Nathan Mansky representing 4 organizations this morning, Adventist Health, the Alliance of Catholic Healthcare, Loma Linda University Medical Center, and the Private Essential Access Community Hospitals, or PEACH. The groups I represent are all very active participants in the private hospital portion of the safety net. This bill, in continuation of the fee, is very important to them for a couple of reasons. Number one is I think everyone would stipulate that California is one of the lowest reimbursement rates, if not the lowest reimbursement rate for Medicaid program, or Medi-Cal as we call it here. Secondly, the private hospital safety net did not benefit all that much from the Section 1115 waiver, which was passed last year. So that then causes us to have greater reliance on continuation of the hospital provider fee. And for those reasons, Madam Chair, we would urge your support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Further testimony in favor? Oh, and we need some chairs, gentlemen. And now we'll just take name and affiliation, please.
Jennifer Tannehill with Aaron Reed and Associates on behalf of the California Children's Hospital Association in support.
Thank you. Next, please.
Mike Montgomery with the Congress of California Seniors. We support SB 335.
Thank you for those golden tones. Any other testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony on this bill, SB 335 by Dr. Hernandez? Any opposition? Seeing none. Finance, you have a comment?
The Department of Finance is neutral on this measure, but does note the following 2 concerns. The bill does include a provision that would undo the hospital outpatient rate that was implemented in AB 97 from 2011, which basically results in an increase in general fund of $26 million over what was included in the 2011-12 budget. And then the second concern that we have is that, just to echo the comments that you've already heard from the other witnesses, that certain aspects of the bill, such as the fee structure and payment methodology, need to be further defined, and we do understand that the Department of Healthcare Services is working together with the California Hospital Association with the author to address these issues.
Members, any comments or questions? We have a motion by Senator Alquist. Then we'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Walters? Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Emerson? Liu? Pavley? Price? Price, aye. Runner? Steinberg?
It's 3-0, members. I need to keep the roll open. Senator Steinberg and Senator Liu stepped out. So we'll keep the roll open and try to get it moving as soon as they return.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Mr. Eng, we'll try to get through your 2 items, and then we have to go to the floor. The AB 172 is first. Members, this is a due pass. You may begin.
Thank you very much. This will be very brief. I only have 1 witness per bill.
Thank you.
172 is a transparency bill that simply requires state contracts valued at more than $5,000, audits, and information on budgets to be available to the public. This measure will have minor fiscal costs under $50,000. I have Nancy Farias with the Service International Employees Union, Local 1000.
All righty, we'll go to your witness then.
Nancy Farias with SEIU Local 1000, representing 95,000 state employees in every department and agency in every county in the state in support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on 172?
Mitch Seaman, California Labor Federation, also in support.
We got some amendments on here. There's a clarifying amendment in the analysis, Mr. Eng.
You ready?
No. Mr. Eng?
Yes.
There's a clarifying amendment in the analysis
Yes,
that we're going to put in there. Okay.
Yes, we did.
Mr. Montgomery, go right ahead.
Yes, Mike Montgomery again, Congress of California Senior Support.
Thank you. Any other testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Any testimony? Seeing none.
I move the bill.
Thank you, Senator Alquist. Finance, do you have a comment?
I don't have an analysis on the May 27th version of the bill. Our previous analysis had identified costs of about $1.2 million.
All right. We have unknown and likely minor, so we'll have to work with you on that one. But we have a motion on the bill. Is there questions or comments, members? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Walters? No. Walters, no. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Emerson? Emerson, no. Liu? Pavley? Price? Aye. Price, aye. Runner? Runner, no. Steinberg?
Currently 3-3. I'll keep the roll open for the absent members. AB 189 on education funding. Mr. Eng, you can open on that.
Yes, thank you. I'm very happy to accept the committee amendment to remove the resource code provision from the bill. This bill modifies the existing public hearing reporting requirements for participation in categorical flexibility. By modifying the existing public hearing requirements, local education agencies that choose to utilize flexibility, this bill has minor district costs. I have with me Craig Brown, representing the sponsors of the bill, to testify in support.
Thank you. And this is a candidate for suspense, members. Go right ahead, Mr. Brown.
Craig Brown for the California Council for Adult Education. This is now basically a transparency bill at the local level. We think it'll ensure that the public has an opportunity to testify before these important programs disappear under realignment.
Terry Burns on behalf of the California Association of Adult Ed Administrators, very much in support, as well as the California Association for the Gifted. We think it's important that parents and other participants are aware that these programs are going to disappear before that happens so that they can make the case. We're still in support of flexibility, but we want folks to all understand the consequences. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Nancy Lacoste representing the Metropolitan Education District in support.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, Fatima Segura on behalf of Career for California Association of Leaders for Career Preparation in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony?
Where's Craig?
And is there any opposition testimony? Seeing none. The comment from Finance?
The Department of Finance is opposed to this measure because it would impose additional requirements on LEAs estimated to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. And additionally, the Department of Finance notes that current law already contains public hearing and expense reporting requirements.
All righty. Thank you. Mr. Eng will work with you while it's on suspense. And
Madam Chair, I was understanding that when we took the amendment, that would remove it from suspense. Is that an incorrect assumption on my part?
Yes, it does not. It does not remove it from suspense. We do want that amendment, but it's not enough to take care of all the cost factors.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eng. And
we also had a third bill, and that's been moved to the next hearing, 1101.
Yes, I don't have it on my file.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time then, Mr. Eng. I'll look forward to that. All righty, members, we're going to the floor. We're going to recess.